And just like that, folks, the Yankees are 4-1. They're off to a fantastic start. One could even say historical start on the defensive side of the ball. So very surprising, honestly. Like, I expected the pitching to look good. I didn't expect this. We're going to get into it, but this is a big win, Gary. Fun game. I think we've been waiting for the offense, and you know the rule of thumb on this show. We believe that you should win every single game you score 5 runs or more in. It's that simple. So to score 5 runs and to have the shutout courtesy of Mr. Max Fried, who just, man, talk about economical in his pitches. I mean, you're looking up at 6th inning, 7th inning, and he's got, 70 pitches or whatever. It's ridiculous. It's every time it feels like he's so good about being efficient. I understand it kind of comes with the territory if you try to be like, somebody like, say, Scooble, and you're striking out a bunch of guys, you're probably going to have more pitches thrown. But
that's fair.
That said, Max Fried deserves a lot of credit because I think at least you need at least one of these guys in your rotation. And right now, the Yankees, this is such a good fit with what you have with Schlittler and Warren and what you'll have with Cole, potentially Rodon. We'll have to talk about that, how he could be pushed back a little bit. But all in all, Yankees are off to a great start. And to say that their only loss came on, honestly, just a blundered coaching job at the end of the game, you could argue. I think we'll take that.
Yeah, in Max Fried's line at this point, he's thrown 13 1/3 of an inning, Jake. He hasn't given up a run. 10 Ks. I don't think either of us really care about the Ks.
No.
I know Ariel Epstein joined our show last year, and she was like, guys, never hammer the over on Max Fried. And I'm going to call her out here live on the air. She took the over today and hit. So don't know how she does it. She's always hitting on these bets, but
she's
I guess
very
the
good.
Point is,
that's why.
Very good at what she does. His whip this year is a .53. Obviously, historically great. We understand that that's going to come up. This isn't human to pitch like this for an extended period of time. We'll take this, especially with the health of our rotation. I want to say one thing, though, about our offense and just kind of how things went today. Because, again, we didn't hit a home run. And yet, today was one of the more successful Yankees games I've watched in about 10 months. And that's saying something. Jake, we don't miss a game. So I want to get to the first inning of this one, right? You see Judge go down anemically, Grisham goes down, and you say, okay, nothing's brewing. An 0-2 count to Cody Bellinger. He slashes a single up the middle. All of a sudden, Ben Rice cashes in with a 2-out double, eventually scoring himself on a Giancarlo Stanton bleeder single to right field. The Yankees typically don't score this way, right? And so you say, okay, well, how's that gonna develop? We now, Jake, go into the 6th inning. We get a leadoff double from Grish, and we've seen this before. We hit a lot of doubles, homers, right? We strike out a lot. We walk a lot. Grish hits the leadoff double. Aaron Judge, our best player, clearly, unfortunately strikes out. And you think this is a typical Yankees unproductive out. The inning is probably squashed unless we hit a bomb. No, Cody Bellinger singles on a line drive to center field. And of course, J-Rod, Yes Network did a beautiful job. They threw it up on the camera showing us which guys have great arms in the outfield. J-Rod in center field being one of them. Grish sees the ball down in center field and decides, I'm going to hold at third base and not worry about my jump home, which is atypical for Yankees base runners. That was smart. So I'm giving him credit. And then Cody Bellinger sends it from first to second base. And of course, the runner-up for the MVP, and Cal Raleigh throws the ball away into center field. We score. And then Big G busts it open with the laser, 112 miles an hour to left field. It's now 4-0. The Yankees don't score this way. So I want people to understand what you just watched today, not necessarily how it'll develop, but you have to look at what happened and how the Yankees typically score and ask ourselves, what's actually going to matter in October? Are they actually going to be able to have these type of games? Because if they can't literally can't win in October. So I wanted to give the Yankees offense a ton of credit tonight for this win, because the story tonight's, of course, going to be Max Fried, deservingly so. And now, Jake, will talk about Max Fried. We discussed in game one that he threw is like, okay, he's working on the cutter. You brought up the pitch mix, the percentages of these pitches being thrown. And we were wondering, why is the cutter being brought in there? And if you watch tonight and how economical he was throwing pitches in the zone with his sinker and cutter, action pitches, balls that he expected to be put in play, very Toronto Blue Jays-esque. I'm expecting you to swing early and often and get the ball in play, and it won't kill me. And that's exactly what he did all night, and it helped their bullpen. So credit to Max Fried. I thought the game plan was brilliant. And of course, the most important thing to me is what Max Fried is going to look like with this contact-first approach to the first couple pitches in these at-bats against these contact-first offenses. This was a beautiful showing.
I agree completely. And, I have them side by side right now. In this game, 27% four-seam fastball. Last game, 24%. This game, 21% sinker. Last game, 20%. You mentioned the cutter, 17%. Last time the cutter was 24%. Then you have the changeup, 14%. Last time he went 8% with the changeup, 11% with the curveball this time, 15% last time. He even mixed in a slider this time. I think it's it's pretty consistent, and it goes to show you, Gary, that Max Fried is going to mix things up. Like, he's not just going to have his, like today he felt like going with the sinker a little bit more. And the other thing that I find, and I find this really interesting, you'll never see Max Fried lead the day in whiffs. Do you know why that is? Think about this.
Go ahead.
I want to get your perspective on this. Did you already answer?
No, you were actually asking me why I thought he was leading in whiffs?
Why he never leads in whiffs?
Well, I assume he's pitching to contact and actually trying to induce weak contact. Whereas when I'm watching a lot of guys like the Blake Snells, and I'm not telling anyone that this is the wrong way to pitch, but when our biggest gripe with Aaron Boone is that he pulls pitchers too early, you can't strike out 10 guys in 4 innings and 5 innings and then look up and blame your manager for why you get pulled. You're at 100 pitches. You're at 95 pitches, and the manager has to make a tough decision. But if you can look up and say a guy's at 65 pitches in the 6th inning, how can you pull him at that point? He's intending to have contact. What was your reasoning of what you thought?
I think obviously, it's clear that pitching to contact helps, but it's actually, I'm seeing guys just take his pitches, probably more than most starters. I mean, he's got 7 different things he can throw. And I've watched so many games of him pitching now as a Yankee, and hitters don't want to actually have to swing the bat against him. That's what I've noticed. And I think we saw that today where he's like, all right, enough of that shit. And he tapped his hat and he got the strike call. He's not going to allow that, and that's the thing. So, I mean, if you're going to stare at him, I mean, he paints the edges so well. And now that, it's funny because back in the day when we would play like MVP baseball, the strike zone was different. They would never award you a strike just because they would clip the corner. It would have to be more than halfway into the strike zone. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. It would be hitting the corner and they'd call it a ball. I do remember that. It'd go blue. But I guess what really stuck out to me is, I know you talked about that Max Fried can hit the corners. He does it all the time.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
What stuck out to me was his ability to go actually away from the corners. And Garrett Cole, it actually reminded me a lot of Garrett Cole in his first year at the Yankees. And it didn't go exactly smooth right away, right? Garrett Cole was giving up, balls were going out of the ballpark. And we realized essentially he assessed himself and said, I feel like I'm nibbling and not trusting my stuff. I'm staying away from the zone and essentially falling behind in counts because I'm trying to be too perfect, getting guys in hitters counts, and I'm giving up damage. Max Fried's finding ways early in counts to throw pitches with nasty movement that aren't necessarily on the corner. And what you find out is that big league hitters, as good as they are, they're not ready to attack sinkers middle away, middle in. They're not ready for that. But when you get 2-0 to a Cal Rowley, 2-0 to a J-Rod, and you're forced to throw either a cutter or fastball anywhere towards the middle of the plate, they're going to be ready for those pitches because they're waiting on those pitches. So that's just how this game works. And I think if Max Fried can take this approach of trusting his stuff and realizing I'm a left-hander with all this movement, all these pitches that are at my disposal, guys aren't ready to go this early without an indication of what I might throw. So yeah, this is big for not only Max Fried, of course, in his own tenure with the Yankees, but Aaron Boone also has a big decision down the road here with Max Fried, where you say, is this guy a guy I can trust to go 200 innings? That's the value, in my opinion. If Max Fried can get to that threshold, this team, not just the staff, because I know this is the best staff in the American League, and we'll talk about that. But Jake, how about our bullpen and people complaining about that group? The bullpen can't be good unless there's some big dog out there that can go big inning. And I think it might be either Schlittler or Max Fried.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen has been really good, and it's not filled with tons of names. It's Bednar and Doval. I mean, that's really all anybody that's not a Yankee fan would know. And they might not even know Doval because he's been, not recently, but he's been bad for a minute. Like, he hasn't been the all-star. You know how I feel about all-stars.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I know how you feel.
But yeah, so, I will say this: the two at bats that I think really stood out to me in different ways. One was a swinging strikeout, and the other one was actually a failed ABS call. Okay. It really goes to show you what Max Fried can. Max Fried can strike out 11 guys. He's capable of doing that. He doesn't want to do that though. He wants to actually get through and eat innings. He knows his role. He knows what's best for the team. Like, you can just tell he's like one of those like captains, like in the pitching staff. Like I feel like he's genuinely a captain. He sees the game beyond just, and I want to make this clear. I'm not saying everybody feels this way, but it does feel like sometimes guys are playing an isolated baseball game. Like, I control what I can control.
Yeah, I would agree. If you go 4 no-hit innings and you get pulled, well, yeah, I did my job technically, right? Because my job is no longer
felt
to deliver.
That way.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, every time it's like, I didn't do enough. They gave me a 5-run lead and you know what I mean? Like, it's always talking about the underlying nature of the overall game. And that's something that I've always really admired about Max Fried, because I feel like a lot of pitchers, to that point, Gary, it feels like they pitch in an isolated way, whereas Max Fried's he has a feel for the game. He understands where he is in that moment. Look, it's nice to have strikeouts, helps with the contract, right? Obviously not now, he signed one, but it helps. It like, stats matter. That's great. W's matter more to him. And I think the best course of action he knows, especially with this bullpen that may not have definitely doesn't have a Mariano Rivera. It's definitely not a super bullpen. He knows he has to get through 7 innings. That's why they're starting him. That's why he's their ace. That's why they're paying him $28+ million a year. And I feel like he understands the assignment. And so going back to that, the strikeout swinging on Naylor, he tried some different pitches. He tried some off-speed stuff in the dirt. Naylor didn't bite. And you would think, man, you're going to keep it low on Naylor, right? And Naylor's thinking the same thing. So he ends up swinging late on a high fastball that he was not expecting Fried to have the balls to throw. That's case in point number 1. Number 2, you go back to the Ref Snyder at bat. And that at bat ends with a failed ABS call. That was a ball, Gary. But guess what? To my point, these guys don't want to swing at Max Fried's pitches.
Ref Snyder kills lefties, by the way. He's a specialist. There's a reason he led off tonight. Because some people would say, well, why is Ref Snyder leading off this game? That's why. It's because of what he does against lefties. And if you watched his at-bats tonight, he was overmatched completely.
Absolutely.
And so it just goes to show you couldn't really pinpoint what Max Fried necessarily dominated with. You'd be like, was it the sinker? Was it the cutter? Was it the slider? Not really. Not really. They were just all good. And the broadcast they diagnosed it as he's just got everything tonight. He had everything. And luckily for the Yankees, when he's got everything, he's economical. He's able to stay out there and not to your point, worry about this solo game where I can go 5 no hit and get my high fives and say my ERA is still 0, when I'd much rather see our low leverage guys pitch in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, and it tees us up to finish this series strong. It's beyond just you. So absolutely love that. And by the way, I do want to throw this up on the screen, and I wanted to pose a question from HS. Thank you for the Baja Blast. In the 2 says best pitching staff in the American League. Without a doubt, I would agree if Garrett Cole returns to form to the point where we can trust Cole. And I don't expect to trust Cole until September, to be honest with you. I just think that's the way the game goes. Could I leave room for a pitcher that's probably going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame to figure it out right away? Sure. But if I'm a betting man here, I'm going to tell you that Garrett Cole's going to need some runway to get things underway. And once that happens, you're talking about Garrett Cole, Cam Schlittler, and maybe a reinvented, that's the word I'd want to use, for Max Fried, a guy who's comfortable pitching in the zone early in counts, and he's not nitpicking at the strike zone. It'll do him well. So yeah, this staff is not historically great. I've seen better staffs, there's no question. But as far as the American League and what we're looking at, they've got experience, right? And hopefully we have the health on our side. We have some youth on our side in Cam Schlittler. You pretty much should love everything you're seeing outside of the development with Rodon. But Jake, I guess my question about Fried, have we ever discovered the pitches that were actually giving him trouble with the blisters? Because I know last year he dealt with it around the All-Star break. You mentioned I would play this very cautious. Did we ever get essentially a diagnosis of which pitches were giving him trouble?
I don't think we did.
I would have liked to know that, because right now it seems like he's more so going with his sinker and his cutter, right? Getting ahead, throwing strikes early, and not really relying on a lot of get me over breaking balls, sliders, right? Pitches that he's got to snap off. I wonder if his pitch selection on the mound may have an impact on his health in a positive way. So I would actually love to know, maybe a reporter or two could dive in with a question. Yeah, what did he have to say?
A 92.2 mile per hour cut fastball thrown to John Birdie in the 3rd inning of his start against the Chicago Cubs in July of 2025.
Interesting. So the pitch,
and he stayed in, and the changeup, I guess, further, made it worse, essentially.
Okay, so the cutter is what initially did the damage. Now, yes. I would assume that Fried probably doesn't think, if I just throw the cutter, that's the problem. But it is interesting that the pitch that gave him fits physically last year is taking an uptick in 2026. So I found that interesting.
That is interesting.
He's working with a new grip. Again, would love to hear this information.
Didn't they bring that up last year that he was working on a new grip to combat the blister? I see. That's the thing. Like, it's like the whole, what is it? Is it Pablo Reyes? Like, that feels like 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pablo Reyes played for the 2022 Yankees, it feels like.
Yeah, but actually he was actually a starter last year, or he was supposed to be a starter last year. Crazy.
Yeah, at one point.
I wanted to bring up, kind of coinciding with the pitching, MLB.com, Anthony Castrovins had a March 21st, he had a article on the top 10 pitching staffs in baseball. And this was kind of factoring in like what their starting rotation would be if everybody was healthy. Okay. So number 1, you guessed it, was the Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Emmett Sheehan. Number 2 was the Mariners, which makes sense. We've been talking about how great they are. Brian Wu, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller.
Yeah, when healthy, I actually like Seattle's starting pitching better, believe it or not.
I think they're wicked close. I think I would take the Yankees, but I wouldn't fault anybody taking the Mariners. I've always had a lot of, I had a lot of praise for their rotation. Number 3 is the Phillies. Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, Aaron Nola, Andrew Painter. That's a really good one.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 4 is the Red Sox. I don't really see this at all. I got to be honest with you. I think they're overrated.
This group?
Yeah. Garrett Crochet.
No.
Yeah, Garrett Crochet is fantastic. We like Garrett Crochet on the show. We think he's fantastic. Sonny Gray is their number 2 pitcher.
There's
Ranger. Is it Ranger?
It's
Suarez? Ranger Suarez.
Suarez is better than Sonny Gray, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. And then I think Bayo is better than both of them.
Yeah, Bayo just got absolutely lit up today. I don't know if you saw. You get shelled.
Johan Oviedo. I'm sorry.
I don't know who that is.
That's not a better rotation than the Yankees, but this is why I'm reading it. Tigers, Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez, Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize, Justin Verlander. Sorry. I don't think that's better than the Yankees. Number 6, ahead of the Yankees, the Pirates, Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Bubba Chandler, Braxton Ashcroft, and Jared Jones.
Nah.
I think they're putting way too much stock into the first name. Like, you know what I mean? Like Paul Skeens.
Wait, hold on. Pittsburgh was ahead of us?
Yeah.
Who wrote this?
Anthony Castrovins. The Yankees are 7th, so they did make the list at least.
Shout out to Anthony.
Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren. Number 8 was the Brewers. Brandon Woodruff, Chad Patrick, Jacob Mizorowski, Quinn Priester, and Kyle Harrison. Blue Jays are 9th. Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman, Trey Yesavage, Cody Ponce, Shane Bieber. I would say
that Toronto staff should be at like 4. 3.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And then the Mets.
I'm telling you, it's like we didn't watch the wild card round or any of the division series, championship series, or World Series. It's like we didn't watch any of that.
It's wild to me. And then the Mets, Freddie Peralta, Nolan McLean, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga. I think the Yankees are too low. I think the Blue Jays are too low. I don't think the Pirates are even on this top 10. Just because you have Paul Skeens and Bubba Chandler. I think Mitch Keller, we've talked about it. I think Mitch Keller's so overrated.
Mitch Keller is the modern day, what's his name?
Oh, I know you're talking about. I know you're talking about. Oh, God. Oh,
you'll think of it at
Quintana.
Some point in the episode. Yeah, Jose Quintana.
Guess where he came from? The Pirates.
Right, and they're obviously big leaguers, and they have their moments. But you can't tell me that you're worried about that matchup with a Cam Schlittler. Come on. It's an overmatch. It's just a complete overmatch. But I want to also discuss some of the offense we saw today. I wanted to put some highlight on some certain players. Obviously, Cody Bellinger swung the bat beautifully today. But the guy I wanted to talk about was Ben Rice. And this is why I wanted to have this discussion at depth now.
Yeah.
All of last year, there was the concept that was introduced, and I understand it because I played baseball for a long time. I played in college. I get it. With baseball, there's a major aspect of luck. You hit the ball 115. The way the game's designed is you can hit the ball straight to a glove and go back to the dugout. You're out. And you can also hit the ball like Giancarlo Stanton did to right field down the line, and it turns into an RBI single, and people talk about how hot you are when you hit the ball 30 miles an hour, right? So the game feels unfair at times, right? And last year, pretty much everyone talked about how Ben Rice, our conclusion, he's one of the most unlucky hitters we've ever seen. And I said, there's probably some truth to that. But Jake, as you know, I wouldn't yield to the fact that it's just strictly luck. I mentioned some of it is his responsibility. Sometimes when they're shifting you to pull, clearly to pull, and you can see with his at-bats, he's, for the most part, early in counts trying to pull the ball. And you can see the shift when they show replay or foul balls. You can see that shade. He eventually makes him pay today to left field. So when you hit the ball 110, like he did today, you're increasing your chances tenfold by hitting the ball to the opposite direction of the defensive shade. That's how you change your luck if you're Ben Rice. Rather than lining out to the track into a shift and saying, damn, I hit the ball 115. Those better fall next week. How about I hit the ball to the direction, right? And this isn't MLB The Show. You can't just simply aim the ball exactly between players, but what you can do is hit the ball to certain directions. And that I want to give Ben Rice credit for because he was inevitable today. Beautiful at bats, 2 walks, 2 knocks, drove in runs today. He was one of our better at bats today. So wanted to give him credit. It was very Joey Votto-esque, if you will.
I already see the development. Like the way he carries himself is different. It's very interesting actually, because he was kind of like the new kid on the block, and you watch him in the pressers now. He's serious. Like he's a full on. You could tell he's a professional now.
He's a good interview, by the way. Like he actually gives us answers, which we like.
Yeah, but now he's like stern. You know, he's serious. He doesn't have like the, like happy-go-lucky approach. Because, I mean, he used to be kind of like one of those like, just like, I'm just enjoying. And now he's just like, yeah. So
he's happy to be a Yankee, and now he's comfortable.
Yeah. No, it's cool to see the maturation. Not to say that, like, let's not go down that path saying that, oh, well, excitement, that's not very mature. Like, you know what I mean? But no, I think we're seeing a homegrown Yankee who's really starting to come into his own. And that's my takeaway. Shout out to Jack Curry and Bob Lorenz, who were kind of pushing the whole, it's time to let Ben Rice be Ben Rice and play every day. And, they were giving Boone credit because they kept him in. They could have pinch hit for him against the lefty late in the game yesterday. And then, today, there were opportunities, and they're kind of just letting him roll. And that's exactly what you and I were asking for, because I'll be honest with you, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like you kind of were in the same boat as me. I was worried that this was going to be Paul Goldschmidt time. And by the way, it's only 5 games. There's plenty of time for Boone to start getting his claws in there and be like, all right, we're going to do it.
But this is what this podcast is about. We can't freak out until you do it.
Exactly.
Until you make the mistake, we're not going to be like, oh, he better not make that mistake. Well,
you can't get somebody in trouble for something they didn't do yet.
Sure. Exactly. So we have to at least acknowledge that. I'm overall, the maturity of Ben Rice, I was never worried about that. There's certain players on our roster, and they're going to remain nameless, that you worry about the maturity level in New York under the microscope. And there's certain players you don't. I'm not worried about Ben Rice. I think the adjustment here, I'm personally not worried about. If Aaron Boone wants to make the decision in a series, we've got a tough lefty and a Garrett Crochet, a Chris Sale, or whatever have you. Let's give Paul Goldschmidt the start. As long as you stay consistent with that at bat throughout the day and let those guys get their 3 or 4 at bats, I'm cool with it. But what I don't want to see is all of a sudden Ben Rice gets a start against a righty, and every single time we get Ben Rice up in innings 7 through 9, the other team simply can go to a left-handed arm and take an either 2 for 2 or 0 for 2, doesn't matter what he did, Ben Rice out of the game. Aaron Boone went away from that decision and that mistake tonight, and that's to his credit. So again, if he's going to make that choice of Paul Goldschmidt getting his at-bats, and I expect him to get his at-bats because he kills lefties, make that decision and stick with it for the game. I think that's the choice that I'm comfortable with. And as long as that's happening, I'm not going to freak out whichever direction he goes with this. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Jake, why don't you go ahead and take this super? I'll take the next 2, including our new member.
Yeah. So we got Rich Squires. I want to make sure we got everybody.
Oh, Rich. Did I miss him? Is he above?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and throw him up. Slim, we'll get you up there in 1 second.
So Rich, member for 18 months, field level member. 3 positives. Done without Judge's contribution. Love. Rich is great. That's absolutely right. They're 4-1. Aaron Judge has been a lemon, as Gary would say. So yes, that's a big deal. Grisham has come to play. I'm surprised. Done without relying on the long ball. Yeah. The one thing I'm going to throw shade at Grisham for today?
Let me think about it.
I don't know why it pissed me off so much.
No, go ahead. No, what was it?
Maybe it's just me. I didn't love his effort when Max Fried was throwing a no-hitter, and he just let that ball kind of slowed down. He could have made the diving catch. I think he definitely makes a diving catch if he gets a good jump on it. But to see him just slow down and he came that close to the ball, that kind of ticked me off. I know it's a minor detail, but I don't know, man. Max Fried's our ace. I'm going out there. I'm leaving it all on the field. I'm trying to make sure this guy can get his no-hitter. You know what I mean?
What was the score, though? Not to devalue what you're saying. I'm just trying to think this through.
Yeah,
Because I believe at that point we're up 4-0. Is that correct?
I think it was clear. I think they were up 2-0. It was before the 6th inning. I know that.
Okay, perfect. So I want to get you up on screen. Welkin. Thank you, obviously, for getting active. A mod of ours. It was 2-0.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, the way that Max Fried was pitching very clearly had his ace stuff. It was already realized up until that point. He's got it, right? The Yes broadcast was talking about it in the 2nd inning. Hey, he's got it. Well, if you're an outfielder in a 2-0 game, you have to assume that this game's going to be a nail biter one way or the other, right? The Yankees pen has been not exposed, but utilized over the past few days. In a 2-0 game, ball up the middle, you're trying to preserve a no-hitter, you leave your feet, ball goes by. Well, you're not talking about a squibber now turning it into a 1-run game. So I completely hear where you're coming from. If you'd known in hindsight the game's going to be 5-0, I would have left my feet and done everything I could to be Superman on that play to try and save the magic. But considering the score, I thought the game was too close to leave your feet and potentially change, maybe not the outcome of the game, but change the situation. You never know what happens from there. So yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I just think the score kind of dictated that.
That's fair, but does it also matter who was at the plate? Because it was Josh Naylor.
No.
See,
no, it didn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Josh Naylor was the first hit of the game, right? So you have to imagine leaving your feet and allowing Josh Naylor to get like a stand-up triple with less than 2 outs. Now a ball, essentially a sac fly, scores a run, and it's now 2-1. I think that's a bigger mistake than not leaving your feet and then leaving the inning without having scored altogether. So yeah, I wasn't pissed off about it. I hear where you're coming from because I want to see a no-hitter. I just felt like if you're going to make that Hunter Pence dive out to right field from Madison Bumgarner, right? The Dwayne Wise catch in center field. If you're going to make those plays or leave your feet for a ball and take a risk, I think the situation has to play a part in that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I don't even feel like it would have been a dive if he like hustled more. I think he did kind of his like, just toss it in. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he really pulled up on the ball. That was what bothered me.
Okay.
Personally.
I mean, if that's how you felt, I didn't see that. So, I mean, teach of their own. But Slim Lewis.
It's not allowed in 2026. We have to agree or death.
Oh, yeah, that is Twitter. Yeah, that is Twitter. Slim Lewis. Appreciate the 5. Appreciate, as Jake calls it, the broccoli.
Thank you, Slim.
So he says, you're too young to have seen Ron Guidry in his prime. He's absolutely right. I was too young. I was born in 93. Tonight, Max Fried looked like him. From the stuff to the body type to the mustache. Filthy. Yeah, it was old school. And there weren't any excuses about the weather. We were talking about on the broadcast how it may benefit him to pitch in the cool weather wearing sleeves. They even gave us a story about Doc Gooden, who loved to wear sleeves during the summer because he sweat so much. As he called it, he was schwitzing. And that comes from, that's essentially Hebrew. So yeah, Slim Lewis, we really appreciate the 5. Yeah, you're going to look like a future Hall of Famer if you're going to pitch like that. I mean, Max Fried had everything. So let's just hope that this continues to age. He's not going to be perfect. No pitcher is, unless you've got Paul Skeens type stuff, who of course got shelled last week against the Mets. But for the most part, Max Fried has to figure out how to pitch when guys are hitting to contact, when guys are swinging first pitch, when he can't just get a Frisbee over for a breaking ball all night. He has to throw hard stuff early and often. It worked tonight. So that's something a little different. It's a wrinkle in our rotation. And of course, J.S. Spanton, thank you. Or Jay Spanton, thank you for the 5, who was here last night. We really appreciate your return. It says 5 for the 5 runs. My goodness, I hope they score 25 tomorrow. This is all the reason we need, Jake, to root for this offense to be consistent this year. If there's anything else, it's Jay Spanton. So Jay Spanton 4, we really appreciate your support at this channel at Yankees Unloaded. And Brew Crew, gotta love that we've got some Milwaukee fans in here as well. Never understood the cheese hat. It's insane to me. The grown men show up to the field in cheese hats, but that's neither here nor there. Brew Crew,
field level
aboard.
member.
Welcome in. Absolutely love that. Appreciate the support. And Yankee fangirl for life, the GOAT. Welcome back in, who's of course a member at Yankees Unloaded with the 2, says, so last year and now I think Judge needs to hit third. Jake, do you put any legs on this? I don't care where Judge hits at this point. If Aaron Judge can hit, do his thing, right? What he normally does, where the others play this brand of baseball that you're watching them score without Aaron Judge. If they can do their parts and have this volley of an offense where each other are trying to do different things, I think this offense can have essentially a new dimension, right? And maybe we can put this offense, maybe not in terms of runs scored, but in, as your dad would say, important runs scored. Maybe that can happen. I don't care if Judge hits third. Do you care at all where he's at in this lineup at this point?
No, I mean, if he was hitting 9th right now, I wouldn't care because, I mean, right now he's not hitting. It's early on the year. He can hit third. He can hit leadoff. He can hit second. Guys are still finding ways. I think the bigger issue is not really Judge for me. It's going to be Ryan McMahon because that, to me, is the one player where as good a defense as he can play, he's got to be at least like enough, as we talked about.
Sure.
And right now, he looks dreadful.
Is he 1 for 12?
Something like that. Yeah, it's not great. It's not what you want, as Joe Girardi would say. But, I feel like it's way too early even still with Ryan McMahon. I'm just saying, like, be on the lookout. Like, I'm now really monitoring Ryan McMahon because there's a chance that this just isn't going to work out. Like, he's not even going to be enough.
Yes, please remind me about Ryan McMahon because I want to talk about this at depth. I don't want to gloss over this because one of our members, he said, did you guys get my member chat? Kyle, if you would, drop that in the comment section.
I found it.
Chat. Beautiful. So he's been a member for 12 months, and that is true. We've been here for every bit of it. Says Rodon has hamstring tightness, and we're going to get back to Ryan McMahon here in a second. Not good, hopefully not too serious. Yeah, this isn't great, especially considering the fact this is coming in the rev-up process. Really just exiting spring training. We saw this in his opening season in New York. It didn't work out. He pitched to a 6.45 ERA roughly. And so, Jake, I know they said it's in the air whether or not this is going to push back his rehab assignment. You have to imagine it absolutely will push back that rehab assignment. I don't see in any world where it doesn't. I don't want to speak for our training staff, but yeah, this, as far as Rodon goes, this isn't good. And maybe you can say it's a blessing in disguise for a Will Warren who gets another opportunity to stay in this rotation. Maybe you can say it's a blessing in disguise for maybe in a Lagrange who will have an opportunity. Not good for the staff overall, though. I will say that.
I mean, it's also what they're paying Rodon. So I also, Rodon was great last year. Like, yes, I don't want his postseason to overshadow how good he really was. I mean, this is a significant loss if this pushes him back, and it's going to. I mean, they're going to be very cautious with this, and you know why they're going to be very cautious? Because as we've talked about, they have the depth to be very cautious. Like, they might shut him down until later on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're talking the middle of the year, and
yeah. And it's tough, Gary,
because a hamstring, to be fair. So if it's a tweak, and you're talking about this was something he pulled, it's something dramatic, right? Then yes, he's going to be, they would have probably reported to us that he's already scratched this rehab assignment. But due to the fact they said they don't know, and that means they're telling us they're going to look at it tomorrow. You have to imagine this isn't something that'll sideline him too long. But yeah, to your point, when you look at what we've got in AAA, you're talking Lagrange, right? We've got a lot of talent. We've got guys in our system, not even at the major league level, that we would trust to pitch in a major league game tomorrow if it really called for it.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember, this is all a buildup to October. And what's more likely for Carlos Rodon to take that next step from more so dominating the regular season the way he did last year to going and dominating in a postseason series, or just doing it fresh with a young player? It's more likely to go with the veteran. So it's in the Yankees' best interest for this to go well. And to your point, Jake, they're going to be cautious. So if you had hoped for Rodon, it's definitely, it's tough right now from what we're watching. So Kyle, we really appreciate you bringing that up. And I want to hit back on the topic that you brought up in Ryan McMahon. I thought it was a great point because defensively, he looked brilliant today. Everything they acquired him to do, right? And you obviously watched all that. But what's so interesting is offensively, he's got to be better. I mean, he was picked on today. And I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah, they're not even competitive at bats is what I would say.
They look Jazz Chisholm in March and April of last year-esque. That's what it looked like. So I'm not going to worry about this too much with Ryan McMahon just because I want to be consistent on my I want to commit to this.
Yeah.
If you're going to be dismal on one side of the ball for any type of period of time, you better be brilliant on the other side. I said this with Anthony Volpe. If Anthony Volpe is going to hit 200, he better be a Gold Glover. And last year, we saw him not be. We saw him be inaccurate with his throws to the point where John Boy had to bring up to Aaron Boone, when are you going to mention the inconsistency defensively? And that was the point where we said, you've got to do one or the other here. And I believe that Ryan McMahon, they talked about it on the broadcast, they want him penciled in when we've got Fried, a ground ball pitcher, out there on the mound. When we got Cam Schlittler, who's now worked in a sinker, out there on the mound, they want Ryan McMahon at third base. So I don't consider this a situation where the Yankees are like, hey, he's fighting for his job. I just think it's one of those situations where we're paying big money for a guy. This project has to work for the Yankees at the hot corner. And I believe it's not just going to turn around where he's going to have a career year, but 225, 230, 20 homers and play Gold Glove defense. I think that's coming in 2026. I really have no doubt about that.
I think McMahon's going to turn it around, but I'm saying if he doesn't and he just plays Gold Glove defense, I don't think that's enough because I think he's always been a guy that the Yankees are like, we're going to go in with. But I don't know, man. He's like drafting a quarterback. He's not the guy that you drafted. He's the guy that you signed to be a bridge. He's Case Keenum. Like, you can replace Case Keenum, you know?
They would agree to that. If the options show up to their doorstep where, I mean, maybe, right? Alex Bregman was a free agent. Maybe in a situation where economically there was a situation where you can bring a guy in and say, hey, this guy's not making $40 million. I can bring this guy. He's clear upgrade. I don't think they would anchor down with Ryan McMahon. Ryan McMahon's not at that level. They know that. But we have to also be realistic with what the options are down the road. And when are you going to bail on this project? You can't bail on somebody because he's struggling all the way to the break when you don't have an option to replace him. So the Yankees have to figure out when the perfect time is and if that time, I guess, ever comes.
Yeah. And we got Slim with the Baja Blast. Bellinger third, Rice fourth equals good lineup construction. Appreciate you, Slim. I agree.
Okay, so really what Slim's getting to, because some people will be like, well, why? Well, last year's numbers indicate Cody Bellinger hit over 350 against left-handed pitching. When is Ben Rice going to, at the very least, start a conversation on the broadcast? We're considering bringing in Paul Goldschmidt, or at least making him think about what's happening, going to a weakness of Ben Rice. It's left-handed pitching. So if you're going to make the decision, you're going to go after a lefty, well, you're going to Cody Bellinger's strength. So yeah, Slim, this is a great point. This is roster construction 101, right? A-Rod, Jeter, David Ortiz, and they criticized our roster construction. They were more so talking about the names and the redundancies of first baseman, DH, right? Outfielders, and not having a place to play a lot of our young talent. But where Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone deserve some credit here, have to give them credit where it's due. This is strategic here. So this isn't rocket science. It didn't take Albert, Einstein to put this together. But having said that, this is a good thing for the Yankees, is figuring out who does what well and stacking them up against each other where you can't just pick on 3 or 4 hitters in a row who all have the same weakness. So yeah, I love this.
Yeah. What I like about this lineup is they didn't just go lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. Like, I understand where that seems like that could be great, but I really think they go over the top with that to the point where it actually nullifies, or rather, I would say it suppresses. That's the word I'm looking for. It suppresses their lineup because it also takes the flow out of it. So because you're going lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, right? You're going to have Grisham lead off. You're going to have Judge, and then you're going to have Bellinger. Sounds great, right? But next, you would have a righty. So you'd probably have Stanton. Then you'd have Rice. Who do you have after that? Are you going to put Caballero all the way up there? No. Like, that's the thing, is like it messes with the whole flow of it.
Yeah, the dynamic of speed is just way out of whack. You'll just have a bunch of 4 or 5 hitters just stacked up on top of each other.
It's weird.
It doesn't flow.
So I like that he's at least just like, you know what? It's not going to work. The way we need to do it is this way. And I mean, dude, keep Stanton where he's at right now. Like, the way he's hitting, like, don't move him at all. Don't even look at him. Just like let him do his thing. Like, just.
Can I bring up something with Stanton today? I know everyone saw it, so I just wanted to bring it to the surface.
Yeah.
Giancarlo, just to show his health, the Yes broadcast talked about, well, if he's playing this many games in a row, must be pretty healthy. I thought that was true. But having said that, also watch what he's doing in the game, right? He hits a ball down the left field line. He takes second base. Sometimes we see him stay at first base. That wasn't what got my attention. What got my attention was there was a ball, and I would even hesitate to call it a pass ball. The ball squirted away from a platinum glove winner in Cal Raleigh. It was 5 feet to his right, and he takes off to second base on a good read, by the way. Probably would have been out on a perfect throw. But having said that, the fact that he even made that decision at all should tell you everything. He's probably not feeling like Usain Bolt at the Olympics, but what he is feeling like is a version of Giancarlo Stanton that we don't typically get in March. So we'll take this. And if it means Giancarlo is going to give us 120 to 135 games this year, the Yankees are much better off, and our chances of winning this division explode. So, it doesn't mean anything good for the idea of Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones getting at bats here in the future, but if we're getting this type of production from Giancarlo, I don't think any of us are going to lose sleep over the development of our young players if we're getting production out of our DH. So I'm happy with what Giancarlo's doing. He deserves a ton of credit for this. And if he can't open a bag of chips, as we mentioned, I don't know what bags he was opening.
Yeah,
I have no clue what was happening.
You know, the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah, Pringles, right?
No, I was like, why the hell did Grichuk not do that? You got Giancarlo Stanton going to second, but Grichuk couldn't go to third.
Yes,
they'd be 5-0.
Yeah, it was a bummer. It was a bummer.
Yeah, no, I know. But I'm just gonna appreciate it because I know it's not gonna last very long. I'm not being, Brian Cashman here saying he's bound to get hurt. It's actually not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this early on the season, he's more likely to test the waters a little bit with his athleticism. Later on in the year, you have to pace yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so will Stanton be doing this in the middle of the season? No. I don't think this is like a new Stanton. I think this is Stanton early in the season who has his confidence. And also, he doesn't play very often in spring training. So I think they actually kind of let him roll. And he really got some momentum. That's why I was so bummed last year about Bellinger, because he also has momentum right now. Last year, Bellinger was crushing it in spring training, and then he deals with the back, and now all of a sudden, he's struggling. And it was frustrating because, honestly, he would have hit probably 290, close to 300, if not for that one really, really bad start to the year.
That's right.
So you look at Stanton right now, the dude is just on an absolute tear. I got a bunch of stats for you, courtesy of Katie Sharp, who does an excellent job. I would never find this stuff without her. So shout out to her.
How the hell
Twitter.
She finds this stuff?
I don't know either, but I always give credit where credit's due. Unlike some people on Twitter, I don't know. Yankees are the only team since 1900 to allow fewer than 5 runs and strike out at least 45 batters in the first 5 games of a season. Like, how did she find that? Yankees.
I don't know. She must have come out with some type of algorithm where it seems impossible, right? Humanly. But
yeah, Yankees are the second team in the modern era since 1900 to allow 3 or fewer runs combined in the first 5 games of a season. The only other team is the 1943 Cardinals. The Yankees, with 13 plus innings pitched, 0 runs allowed, and 5 or fewer hits allowed in the first 2 games pitched of the season. It's Max Fried and Bob Turley all time. That's it. Those are the only those are the only Yankees that have had 13 plus innings pitched, 0 runs allowed, and 5 or fewer hits allowed in the first 2 games of a pitched season. Giancarlo Stanton has at least 2 hits in each of his first 5 games this season. That's the fourth longest season opening multi-hit streak in Yankees history. And I hope he continues it, man, because doesn't it feel like he has a double every day? It's like weird. Like Giancarlo Stanton.
I agree with you too. It's not really an indication of anything. It's just something we can accept as it shows up. That's all it is. Giancarlo Stanton, if he's healthy tomorrow, see you tomorrow. He's healthy tomorrow, see you tomorrow. And all of a sudden, when you hear something, our roster is constructed in a way where the Yankees shouldn't look at this and say, oh, it's Grichuk's time. No, it is Jason Dominguez, or in your case, it is Spencer Jones' time, right? We have this already set up. So Giancarlo Stanton essentially can just play free. Go out there, don't take a ton of risk. I thought he actually probably took more risk than I would have ever expected him to today on the base pass. But this is it's all good because he's just showing us how he feels. And offensively, it's materializing for the Yankees, and we're going to win a ton of games. If there's any time to do it, it's probably offensively with Garrett Cole out, with Rodon dealing with this hamstring issue. Our offense needs to get it going out the gate here, just in case we have some mishaps, right? Cam Schlittler, some of these guys don't necessarily hit the ground running for the entire beginning of this season. So yeah, I'm very happy for Giancarlo. Obviously, he's super bummed out about how this whole tenure has worked out. He probably feels like this could have gone even to another level, but he's doing the best with what he's got. He's been a lot better than what people give him credit for. So yeah, credit to Giancarlo. And we've got a couple super chats. Chad, we really appreciate it. Thank you for the 5. Really appreciate your support on the channel. Haven't seen you in here before, so I'm really happy for you to be joining us. And Chad again with the 5. Thank you for the broccoli. Says if Boone can utilize all these starters in the pen and rotation, they have a legit shot to win it all. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to tell you in March if they have a chance to win it all, because I just feel like it's a blanket statement for any team that has a good roster.
That's fair.
We'll know at the break if this is a serious contender just by way of innings pitched from our starters. If Aaron Boone makes an emphasis to keep our starters in the game, to create a weapon in rested bullpen, you're going to pitch your bullpen. This is Major League Baseball. Not everybody has their A stuff. We understand that element. But when a guy's got his stuff and you just go just simply out of comfort and choice and reaction, right? It's your reflex to go to cruise in the 6th inning. You're not going to have success in October. I can guarantee it. And the way I can guarantee it is we haven't won since 2009, and it's not for nothing. So yeah, Chad, you're absolutely right. Utilizing our starters, that's the key to this team even having a chance in October, and hopefully a more dynamic offense, which at least here in the short term, Jake, they're showing glimpses of an offense worth a damn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I'm never going to be like, yeah, this team's definitely going to win the World Series in March. But and we talked about this last year. I remember this. Building, I guess how I would look at it is you build a routine now. You set the foundation for your entire season now. You win these games in March and April and what have you. This is only going to help you down the road. And we saw that. I mean, think about this. The Yankees, if they didn't have, the start that they've had in years past early on, this June swoon wouldn't work. Like, it literally wouldn't work. You would lose. You would literally miss the playoffs. And the Yankees have come close to that. So, it is one of those things to keep in mind here. Like, where win as many of the games early on, and I mean, not that I condone the June swoon, but it's how you can survive a skid. And look, it's baseball. It's 162 games. There's ebbs and flows. We know the Yankees at some point are going to hit a wall, and they're going to lose probably 5 games in a row, and people are going to have bags over their heads and act like the sky is falling. I mean, we'll probably do that. But that said, as long as you keep doing what you're doing right now and you get a big enough lead, you can combat that. That's as far as I can go with, my analysis on early on in the season. You can't draw the conclusion that this is a World Series team until about August or September. And even still, it's so tough because these guys play different baseball in October. I mean, we just saw it. I mean, like Ryan McMahon is horrendous right now. Ryan McMahon was the second best hitter in the lineup in the postseason.
By far.
It's like you don't know that's going to happen. You can't predict it, right? So that's what I would say. And by the way, there's no metric to successfully predict how somebody is going to perform when the lights are bright in the postseason. Giancarlo Stanton has been by far the hero of the postseason for the Yankees over a long time. And he was not good this postseason. And Judge, who's not been good at all, was the best. So you can never know. You didn't know Cam Schlittler was going to go out there and throw an absolute gem and basically flip off the entire Boston Red Sox organization doing so. You didn't know that. I don't care what anyone says. I had confidence that Cam Schlittler could come to the finality of that game as the winner. I had confidence that he could have a good game. Like, it was possible. I didn't know going into that game he was going to do what he did. And so that's really my thing. And honestly, the Fried thing, we talked about it all year about how he struggles in the postseason. It's why we initially didn't want to sign him. Guess what, Gary? I still had myself believing Fried could have a good postseason, and he didn't. And that's just the reality of the postseason. And that's actually the beauty and the curse of the postseason. You could be a great postseason hitter for your career, but no one's going to care if, this is the year and you're bad. Like that, it's a very, what have you done for me lately?
We could show up and Fried could just throw a no-hitter twice in the first series. We get to the championship series and the rest of the staff doesn't bring it. We still lose.
Exactly.
So it's just fair to say that Max Fried and Carlos Rodon weren't ready to pitch in that series for whatever reason. Whether people can just, I know social media say, they're just not clutch. Write them off. They suck, right?
Oh, yeah, like sometimes, all of a sudden we don't trust Cody Bellinger. Okay.
Right. You can say the same thing about Aaron Judge. Before this past October, you can say, well, just write him off. It's a total waste of at-bats. He essentially turns from Superman into being Ant-Man. It's nothing. It's not anything to talk about. He immediately regresses down to a different version of himself. And we both said, this is going to be the year. I think this is going to be the year. And you're the one who introduced that. Here are the reasons why. And we went on a 2-hour rant about it. Mm-hmm. Well, just so happens that was the year. And then we go to the WBC. He was mediocre at best. And all of a sudden he's getting slow out the gate and people are upset. So to be honest with you, it's one of those things where we just only can cure it by winning. Once you win, you sort of get all your flowers at once. But when you have the struggle bus going on in October for multiple years in a row, you don't get to show up in March 31st and be like, see, my first 2 starts were great. I learned something. I added a cutter. People they can't just trust you immediately. So let's just let this breathe. Let's give it time. We're going to find our answers in October and we'll all find it out together on our show. I'm looking forward to it. But Chad, we really appreciate the super. Thank you for, of course, getting involved in the pod. But Jake, was there anything else with the offense that you wanted to talk about? I mentioned yesterday we would probably see JC Escara. Of course, we see him the very next day. Thought he did a brilliant job behind the plate. The framing was great. Obviously, called
really
a great
noticeable.
Game with Max
actually,
Fried. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, he's really good at that. I will say, and I don't think his bat is bad. I don't think he's like a positive. I think he's just kind of maybe he could hit 250 if he played every day, maybe. But he's not going to wow you, but he's also the backup catcher. So it's like I don't need him to go crazy. And especially if he's going to be that good behind the plate. Like his framing is like really good. And by the way, we talked about it. Framing still does matter because the ABS it's not all the time robot umpires. So until that's the case, framing is still going to be an art to this sport, whether you like it or not. And he's really good at it. So, and he had some good swings of the bat today. I mean, I know that sounds very little league, but I didn't have any issue with his approach. I honestly, I think he's a solid player that belongs on the roster. And there's really nobody else that you would even suggest over him, like in the minors, and would they trade for it? I mean, it's not, and we've talked about this at length. I mean, this league isn't full of really talented catchers. It's why Austin Wells, nothing against him, but I mean, he has an argument for being a top 5 catcher in baseball. It's really that slim pickings. So
it's not great. And when you have 2 guys you trust defensively, Austin Wells, I would say he's a good defensive catcher. He's not elite, but I'd say the same thing about JC. Frame the ball. We're expecting a lot of sinkers, a lot of cutters. We go to our bullpen, a lot of sinkers, a lot of cutters. If they swing and miss, all the catchers in Major League Baseball catch those. But the pitches on the edges that you can steal from the umpire, or even fool the hitter and say, that pitch was off. And all of a sudden he's challenging it. You saw Jazz do that today, and no, he was fooled by the catcher. That was a strike, right? So overall, framing still has a role in this game. It does. Sometimes it can expose a bad umpire and really change the dynamic of how the game's called later on. So I want to give credit to JC. I thought he caught a beautiful game. I don't want to make it seem like he was the one throwing the pitches. I don't give that much credit to the catcher. But having said that, it's not easy catching a guy that throws about 8 different pitches, right? No. Sinker, cutter. He's got everything.
He likes using the dirt too. Fried likes getting you to chase. So,
right. Yeah. It was all over the place. And it did help, of course, JC, that Seattle was not swinging a hot bat tonight. No. And Seattle typically, not in terms of their wins and losses, but offensively, J-Rod typically walks out of spring training, and he's currently in the process of sleepwalking into another March and April, which is, it's mind-boggling to me. A player who obviously played in the WBC, they've been mentioning that a lot of the stats of players that play in the WBC are really struggling. So I'm curious why that may be, if there's anything to it, and we'll kind of see how these numbers, it's got to be more than 5 games, guys. Let's see what it looks like game 15, game 20, and then we'll look at these WBC rosters and see if you just suck after playing in this tournament. So we'll find out what happens with it. But tomorrow, Jake.
I still, by the way, think that he's incredibly overrated.
The players love him too.
When I watch him, I'm like, he's a great defender. Great defender.
Yeah, we agree there.
He won the home run derby, so now everyone just assumes he's this superstar slugger, and that's not who he is. He's a good, not great.
I don't know
bat.
who I would compare him to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I'll come up with it, and I'll bring it up on the next podcast since we play him tomorrow anyway. And tomorrow's matchup is Cam Schlittler and George Kirby. This is a great matchup. If you look at Seattle's staff, I love this staff. If I like their offense, I mean, honestly, I didn't like their offense at all last year, and look where they went, right? This year, I actually like their offense better. Personally, I know you don't love this roster, but I like the Donovan pickup, which I'm sure you liked it as well. Mm-hmm. I just think overall, it's one of those rosters very similar to what I was looking to out of Toronto last year, where you're like, 5 through 9 isn't that sexy, but the way they play you may not love it over 162, but if you shrink the series into a 7-game series or even a 5-game series, seeing Donovan, maybe J-Rod, who typically gets hot in the second half, they could be dangerous, especially with this staff. So Cam Schlittler coming off the back of a brilliant start from Max Fried, this is what you want to see. If you're Yankees Twitter, if you're Yankees Unloaded's audience, this is who you want to see up on the mound. And tomorrow's a day game, I believe, at 1:10 Mountain Standard Time. So I believe 4 o'clock Eastern. So I hope everyone calls off of work tomorrow. You've got some baseball to watch. Yeah,
we will be going live very late tomorrow. But that said, Julio Rodriguez, this is my thing, okay? Because I had to bring up his numbers because I pretty much know them, but I just want to make sure they were in front of me. So early on in his career was when I felt like he was really becoming a potential star. I mean, his rookie year, 284 batting average, 853 OPS, right? You had the slugging percentage over .500. You had the on base 345, right? Really good. 28 homers. His second year, 275, 333 on base, 485 slugging, 818 OPS, 32 homers, 103 ribbies, 37 stolen bases. That's really good player, right?
Very good player.
Then 2024 happens, and it's now 20 home runs, 68 RBIs. He's hitting 273, 325 on base, and he has a 734 OPS. Okay, you see now 2020.
I see where we're headed.
Yeah, now 2025. Okay, played 160 games. He had 32 home runs. He had 95 RBIs. He had 267, 324 on base, and he had a 798 OPS. So that second half saved him, but he still hasn't had an over 800 OPS the last 2 seasons. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. That's not what I'm saying. When people talk about him like he's a superstar, he was one of the most popular picks to win the MVP this year. Like one of the dark horse MVP picks.
Someone picked him for the MVP?
Like a lot of people in like the whole betting Twitter side of things.
Yeah, he's not winning the MVP.
I think he's a good, potentially could be great player who's shown that he was better early on in his career. And right now, he's a good, not great player. He's not a superstar. He is, I would even say he's potentially an elite fielder. But as a hitter, I think he leaves a lot on the field. I really do.
Defensively, I think considering the position he plays, which is a pretty light position overall, it's gotten a little stronger over the years in the outfield. There's a lot of athleticism, right? We've seen guys with a similar build, right? The Corbin Carrolls and right? You're seeing guys out of Chicago. But I guess my point here, and Crow Armstrong, but he's a good player that's in a position that's really tough to play offensively. Like typically you don't look at center field and get 30 homers, right? And 90 RBIs. And you're talking about what I think is a premier glove. I think he's one of the best defensive center fielders in the game already as it stands. And you saw the arm today. They mentioned his average throw from the outfield is 93 miles an hour. That is a stop sign, to the point where I literally talked in the first 5 minutes of the show and said it was a good decision from Trent Grisham seeing the line drive down off the bat of Cody Bellinger and making sure you stay at third base, setting up the following at bat where we delivered. So I believe J-Rod is an electric center fielder. I think he's a good hitter. And if you put that together, that's a very good player. But there's a difference between very good and the level of MVP where Cal Raleigh, right, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge reside. This is not even in the same stratosphere. So, yeah, credit to him. Obviously, I don't want to say that the second half saved him. I believe that he saved himself from turning it on. But, yeah, I don't think that he's quite at that level that people think he's at. There's a reason that these slow starts happen consistently. And the great players find ways to be good on both sides of both sides of the season. You got to figure it out.
I think you and I see it very similarly. I think you're a little bit nicer about it. I'm a little bit more cutthroat. But that said, like, I don't think he's a bad player. I don't. As a matter of fact, I think he's very good. I don't think he's great. And I'm kind of tired of the way people kind of view. I don't really like when players get overrated like that. And I know it stems from winning that home run derby. I really feel like if you want to get overrated and you're not that, like if O'Neal Cruz is a terrible example because he's overrated to all hell.
Well, I think Jazz won the most overrated vote. This came from the players. So if Jazz is overrated, and I saw the numbers that Jazz put up at second base, well, I think we need to do a new vote, Jake. I think there needs to be another vote here.
I don't like that that's even a vote. I think that's really disparaging towards your peers, personally.
It is strange. It is strange.
But let's say you did the vote today. O'Neal Cruz wins, and it's not remotely close.
Jake's like, it's so disrespectful for you to vote, but O'Neal Cruz leads the camp.
Dude, who's the most overrated player in baseball? It has to be O'Neal Cruz. I used to think it was J-Rod, but J-Rod's still really good. O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, J-Rod can't win an overrated vote. He's way too good for that. I would probably say, O'Neal Cruz probably should be up there because O'Neal Cruz is just a toolbox. It's not.
It's all like
put together yet. They're like,
You
but he
know,
throws the ball 115 and he runs like the wind and he can hit a ball into the river. It's like, yeah, but he does rarely any
O'Neal
of it
Cruz
very
is the
often.
mystery box. I would rather have the boat.
Yeah.
O'Neal Cruz, he hit 200 last year. He struck out 174 times. Okay. So 200 last year, 174 times, a 676 OPS. The year before that, he had and also they act like he has all this power because he hits it really hard. The most home runs he has in his career is 21 in a season. Like,
right.
He has Austin Wells power. 259 batting average in 2024, 773 OPS. Before that, he 233 and 744. Those are his seasons. Like, there were Yankee fans last year that were like, we need to get him. I'm like, why?
No, I would actually describe it as a flyer. He's got the tools. I actually wouldn't have been livid with it. However, you going after that player is seeing if you can hone in the tools. See with maybe a different perspective, different coaching, different hitting coach, if you can unlock something else with that toolbox.
Yeah.
But all the press about exit velocity, and I hop on Instagram and they're like, he hit the ball 118. It's like, okay. You need to see something. If we're going to talk about a player at a certain level, they need to do something consistently for us to talk about it every day. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure O'Neal Cruz hit 2 home runs today. I still think, it doesn't change anything.
That doesn't matter. That literally doesn't matter. What matters is what you do over the long haul. And I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for everyone to make
Yeah, he's off to a somewhat good start considering.
Well, yeah, he hit 21 home runs as a career high. So this is definitely a good start for him. He's got to put it together. And by the way, Bryce Harper also won this vote. I see him in the chat. He won this vote as most overrated player at one time. He's won the MVP twice.
That's ridiculous.
He's going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So people can call him overrated. You can call him whatever he wants. He's playing in a East Coast market, wins multiple MVPs. In my opinion, that's not an overrated player.
So
that's a player that's had somewhat of a decline.
Is he the Anthony Richardson of baseball? You said tools and all. I immediately thought of, well, Anthony Richardson could throw 80 yards without even stepping into his throw. And he also runs a 4.3 40.
I feel like the most talented player I've ever watched on a football field is Percy Harvin. So I'm gonna go with that. I feel like
Percy Harvin.
Yeah, because just in general, I just feel like if Cruz could put it together, that's what everyone's waiting for. And obviously, I hope he does because it gives us something else to talk about in baseball. It's a good story. But yeah, he's got a, yeah, that's true, Welkin. Volpe has hit 2 home runs before in a game. So it doesn't just mean, oh, he's here. He hit 2 home runs. Guys, everyone's hit 2 home runs practically on our roster. So
yeah, in a game,
it's just how baseball goes. It's the ebbs and flows with it. You are who you are most of the time.
Juan Rodriguez is saying Tommy Pham is the most overrated. I don't think anybody rates Tommy Pham.
Yeah, Tommy Pham is not the most overrated player. He's just a professional hitter that you can sort of put him in any role. He typically finds a way to be impactful. He's a good postseason at bat. Yeah, I wouldn't call him overrated.
I know he's going to be upset somehow about what you just said.
Oh yeah, he'll take that personally.
There was no. I think if anything, that was the nicest thing you could have said, and I'm sure he'll call your dad or something.
Yeah, he probably will. Right? Yeah, he probably will. So, anywho, so we talked about we expect Cam Schlittler to be successful. There's no reason to predict he's not going to be successful. Seattle's struggling right now offensively, and Cam Schlittler, they're running into a buzzsaw. This isn't a sure thing. This is baseball. We could show up and lose 10-0 tomorrow, and Cam Schlittler can't throw a strike. But I guess the point is so far everything we've seen, Cam's all over the strike zone. Seattle's taking pitches left and right inside the strike zone. And I have to imagine this is set up for success, but I want to give George Kirby his credit. This is a great matchup tomorrow. So for those of you who can call out of work here in the middle of the night, I would do so. This is going to be, shouldn't say a fun one. It might be low scoring. It depends on what you like, but this should be a tight one where we're most likely going to see Bednar. We're going to see Doval. This is where Aaron Boone's going to make his money. When do you pull Cam Schlittler? When do you make these decisions? And I'm sure somehow, some way, unless we win this game, we're going to be nitpicking it. So tomorrow should be a good time.
I'm so confused. I'm looking at George Kirby, right? 2 games, 15 innings pitched, 0-1 versus the Yankees. Who hit him? I can't see anybody who hit him because guess what? 2 for 2 is Jose Caballero, was not on the team when they played George Kirby. Okay. He's batting 1,000, has a 2,500 OPS, whatever. Randall Grichuk is the only other one that's hit. No one else. How did they get a win on him?
Put some respect on Pablo Lopez's name.
Was it Pablo Lopez?
No, I have no idea. But that's the only player I can really think of, right? Maybe Cabrera, who obviously went down with a major injury last year. Maybe he had an impact.
You know what?
I don't know.
I might need to do some research real quick. Here, let's see, because I'm gonna lose my mind. All right, so looking at, he lost to the Yankees 2023.
Okay.
He pitched 7 innings, 8 hits
on the roster.
Okay, so there was literally nobody on this current roster that hit him. It was let's see, 2023.
V-Boss. Let's go. Jeter's
Yankees.
Gift basket. Hell of a comment right there. Don't forget about your beat. Totally forgot about him. He could have been, I'm telling you, he could have been my Uber driver this morning and I wouldn't have recognized him. That's how much I forgot about your beat, V-Boss. Holy hell.
Okay. All right. Ready for this?
Jahmai Jones.
All right. I found it. Because I was not understanding. I'm like, how did George Kirby lose to the Yankees if hardly anybody got a hit off him? Like, what? So,
sure. What's the explanation?
So here it is. The Yankees had 8 hits in that game. Garrett Cole beat George Kirby. Kirby pitched pretty well. He went 7 innings, gave 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 Ks. That's pretty good.
8 hits. Who got the hits?
I'm going to get to that. Garrett Cole got the win.
Okay.
Clay Holmes got the save.
Wow.
And this was at Yankee Stadium. The hits were Anthony Volpe, Jose Trevino,
just one?
Billy McKinney.
Oh my God.
Harrison Bader, Gleyber Torres, and Mr. 3 for 4, Anthony Rizzo.
We've had some roster turnover over here, more than I really remember.
And by the way, Billy McKinney is the one that broke it open with a 2-run shot.
Billy McKinney, is that the guy we sent to Oakland at the time?
No, I think they sent him in the trade to the Cubs for sidearm.
Tim Hill?
No. Maybe he was a right-handed sidearm pitcher. Anyway.
Was it for Leiter Jr.?
Efros.
Oh, Efros. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've had more roster turnover than I even remember. Like, we're listing Scott Efros.
Oh, dude.
My goodness.
This freaking roster. Dude, this lineup. Jake Bauers led off. Isaiah Connor-Faleffa was a backup.
We were
utility.
Tortured.
Gleyber Torres, Giancarlo Stanton, Anthony Rizzo, Josh Donaldson, Harrison Bader, Billy McKinney, Jose Trevino, and Anthony Volpe.
That roster stinks.
Oh, you want me to read the batting averages to that point in the season? 73 games through.
They look like blood alcohol averages. Jesus.
Jake Bauers was hitting 226. IKF was hitting 233. Gleyber was hitting 256. Stanton was hitting 196. Anthony Rizzo was hitting 270.
All hitting their weight.
Josh Donaldson was hitting 143. Harrison Bader was hitting 269. Billy McKinney was hitting 289. Jose Trevino was hitting 220. And Anthony Volpe, to the shock of everybody, was hitting 191.
That's about his career average. And we're sitting here worried about his rehab assignment. I don't know what we're doing. Chad, by the way, welcome back. Really appreciate the super with the 5. Thank you for helping support the channel.
Thank you for the broccoli.
He said, so beginning second half of the season, what's the deal starting rotation in Penn?
The ideal.
Oh. What's the ideal? That does change that question.
What's the deal?
What's the deal? I was actually gonna answer it the same way. So props to you.
I mean, did you see Chad's other stuff here?
No.
We didn't hit on broccoli from Chad.
No, I hit that.
Okay, and then this one?
Yes. Where were you?
The problem is I can't tell because after you read, you don't unstar it. So I get all confused. I'm like, wait, did we? What are you doing?
Is Jake in here?
Oh, okay.
Hello?
You're out of here.
Yeah, I was like, hold on a second. Am I lagging?
So you just looked like CB Buckner calling that play at first base.
I'm just trying to make sure everything's okay. Chad, so what would you say is the ideal rotation? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to lean. I understand some recency bias here. People are like, oh, well, if Max Fried's got it figured out like this, the cutter, the sinker, and he has it working, he's my 2, right? And we'll see what happens with Garrett Cole. I'm going to keep it honest here. I'm playing to the stuff, not necessarily the results and the innings and all that. When I look at what happened last year in October, I think about who was head and shoulders the best pitcher we had on the mound, reliever or starter. The answer was Cam Schlittler, and that was a young Cam Schlittler. Now, having said that, it's not just results. It's also the 100 miles an hour. It's also the devastating curveball, right? The devastating sinker that we're talking about. This is a guy that I just trust stuff-wise over anyone else. So when I talk about my rotation, Cam Schlittler is my ace. Unless we just suddenly, somehow, some way, see ace Garrett Cole immediately.
I'm with you on that.
Off the rip, he is my ace of this staff. I don't care what anyone else does because they don't have that type of stuff. They don't have that in their bag. The tools, he's put it together. I'm going Cam Schlittler. I'm then going Garrett Cole if he's right, then Max Fried. But if he's not, and I'm assuming Garrett Cole's going to need some time, I'm going to say Max Fried's my 2, right? You're talking Garrett Cole as your 3. And who else would you put in order, Jake, from there? Because do you have it in that same order, 1 through 3? Is that how you're seeing it?
Yeah. And then, I mean, if I had to, it's second half of the season, not postseason. So the last 2, it's tough because I don't know if Rodon is going to work out this year. I don't know. The rev up process was so important to him. And I mean, it cost him his entire season. He was awful his first year. I don't know if he can come back from that. I don't know if he's that type of pitcher. I'm actually going to assume he doesn't. I'm going to assume this is just a bad year for Rodon. He basically gets redshirted. I don't think he's a part of this rotation late into August, September.
To Slim Lewis's point here, he brought up in the live chat, he said LeGrand will be in the rotation the second half. Of course, this is speculation, but based on performance, you can absolutely say he should have a spot in anyone's rotation. Now, having said that,
he's just going to prevail, man. The makeup prevails. I mean,
well, what do you do if LeGrand shows up in the second half and has a Cam Schlittler-esque? Now, our answer as a podcast host and our audience is going to be like, well, no shit. You're going to put LeGrand in there if he's pitching great. But the Yankees, and a point you brought up earlier, what the Yankees are paying him in Rodon is, do you have the leeway to go with some of those young players? You give them the leash and all of a sudden they hit the ground running. Do the Yankees do that? That's a tough call because most teams, I don't want to pick on Boone or pick on our staff. Most teams don't make that choice. If you have a young player who hits the ground running, they typically go with the guy who's making $30+ million a year. That's just what happens. It's the business side of the game that sort of gets in the way.
Yeah, I just think if it goes far enough, like I think it's going to go, I think they're just going to chalk it up as kind of a lost year for Rodon. It's unfortunate.
Okay.
I think this is actually very serious. Like the whole, any sort of mishap. I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball, bro. We're 5 games into the season and this is happening. It's not good.
I think if that happens, though, to your point where he does get behind the 8 ball, I'm going to say this. I assume Rodon's going to figure it out. I don't see a repeat of what happened his first year in the Bronx where he just couldn't get it figured out because he was pitching through that whole process. he's not in a position where we need Rodon's presence really here. We don't need
That's
him
true. The
to
pressure
survive.
would be off him. He wouldn't be a 1-2. He'd be
Complete.
4 or 5.
He would be a 4 or 5, but I'm going to say this. I think there is room. If he doesn't figure it out till, say, July, maybe even in August, you can put him in a Robbie Ray role, or you're talking about a Patrick Corbin role here in 2021, where the guy's built up to be a starter. He's used to throwing 80, 85, 90 pitches. He can come out there in the 4th or 5th inning and really burn some innings in a postseason series whenever it calls for it. So, yeah, am I thinking that Rodon's going to be this specialist that we can pull out? Not really, but he does have a skill set of a starter, and he was great last year. I don't want to just gloss over that. I'm with you,
He
Jake,
was great
on that. He was great. He just sucked in October. So, yeah, I'm going to be patient with him. I want to see what this buildup process looks like. It should be cautious as hell. Shouldn't be any risk involved whatsoever. If there's anything ailing him, he shouldn't play, because we have other options that are just as good or even a chance to be better. So I'm curious. And Donald, by the way, love this. A member of ours dropped this in the comments. This is the type of audience we love to build. So Donald, thank you for putting this in here. Said the man with the 3-way fastball will be the ace by the All-Star break. Could not agree more.
Yeah, I think it's clearly like it's going to be Schlittler. It's going to be kind of they won't do it, but he's going to act like the ace. Fried is going to be the guy, and then Cole, when he comes back, will be the guy, right? Because money, right? And just marketing and all, whatever. But you're going to know, even when Schlittler is the 3rd guy in the rotation, he's the head honcho. And honestly, that just makes them tougher.
Do you think they do that in a postseason series, by the way?
In a weird way, I do. In a weird way,
wow.
I think it's almost beneficial to start the first game and have it be Garrett Cole.
Okay.
Because as long as it's not like a 1-game series or anything like that. But if it, whatever, 3-game series, you start Garrett Cole against their best. Then you have Max Fried, can eat innings, right? Gives you that kind of stability. You're going against their second best. And then you got Schlittler against their 3rd best in potentially the go ahead for the series, right? In a 3-game set.
You could make that argument that you're teeing up your best starter. Clearly, we have the veteran presence of Cole. He's got that type of track record to go win that game. It's not like you're giving the ball to, say, Rodon over an ace and be like, we're going to throw Garrett Cole as our 3 starter because it'll make a mismatch. No,
exactly.
We're all sort of admitting if Garrett Cole returns to form, we basically have a super 1 and a super 3 in our rotation in a postseason setting just because of money.
And your number 2 is a model of consistency that is economical with his pitches, is going to eat innings. That's hard to plan out. Plus, you're putting the lefty in between 2 righties. That's also hard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the choice I make, but I see the positives of both choices. So I'm not going to complain either way you slice it, because I just know in a 1-1 series, which is technically speaking, logistically speaking, the most likely scenario is that the series is 1-1 going to a game 3. You would want your best starter throwing that game. The Tigers would want Skubal somehow, some way, pitching that game 3. The Yankees would want Cam Schlittler, who's got 100 up to 101 with devastating sinkers and cutters. He's really our nastiest pitcher we've got in our staff. We would love that. So do they choose to do that? We're going to find out really 7 months from now. So it's a long time, but
5-game series. What do you do?
This is tough. I'm still going to go with Cam Schlittler. I put a huge emphasis on starting the series up 1-0. I just look at those stats where they say the team that wins goes up 1-0, it wins this percentage of the series. And I don't want to play with those percentages by trying to do something cute and setting up for the future. I pitch my best guy available in order, and that's the way that I roll with it.
I actually agree with you. I like the idea of pitching Fried in the middle of the 2, because then you go righty, lefty, righty.
I would agree with that.
And then I think game 4, it's really up to, do you go bullpen game, depending on where you're at, or do you just take advantage and be like, hey, normally we wouldn't do this, and you go with your top 3, but our rotation's so good, Rodon goes game 4?
I probably don't do that. Most likely, the way that postseason series are set up, you had days off.
Yeah, you get
between,
enough
at
days
least
in
with
between.
travel. I would be pitching Cam Schlittler again for that game 4, because I know if Cam Schlittler wins that game that moves us on to either you're talking about the division series or a championship series, I at least know I've got Garrett Cole, who I can absolutely trust to pitch a game 1 starting that game. I don't try to tee myself up for a Max Fried or a Rodon having to throw in a game 4 or 5 or even a game 1 the following series. I think pitching guys in order of their talent sort of alleviates these problems.
Here's the thing, though, right? Because this has always been the fascinating thing to me in a 7-game set. So you pitch your first 3, then you go, game 4, you go with Schlittler. Game 5, you go with, we'll say, you go with Fried. Game 6 is Cole. Now, who are you pitching game 7?
You said Cam pitch game 4?
Yeah.
Cam.
So you're not worried about the, on short rest?
No.
Okay.
0. Because we're talking about we potentially could be in a World Series setting. Potentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would the Dodgers have told you that Yamamoto would have pitched on 2 days rest? Absolutely not.
Oh, I'm just getting your take. I mean, me personally, I wanted Cam to pitch, even though this wasn't logistical. I wanted him to pitch against the Blue Jays if they got to Toronto.
Completely understand. And by the way, that's a risk. Physically, it's a risk. It's a risk for the Dodgers to have pitched a $300 million asset on 2 days rest. Huge risk. They've dealt with injury before with
Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens did this. So it's happened before. There's a precedent. Definitely. I know we baby our pitchers nowadays, and maybe that would actually be the reason why they can't, because this is what they're used to. But I mean, I've gone back and I've watched that because I've just marveled at the idea. I mean, not that the Yankees lost that series, but the fact that Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens seemingly pitched every night. It was one of those two. That was insane.
And Kurt Schilling, they did the same thing in 01. They're pitching anytime they can physically. And I don't believe that Boone would go away from that. I think he would do the same thing if push really came to shove and we were in that situation. But I mean, we were really more so in a situation in that series where our 1 and our 2 technically were our worst pitchers. So it almost in a way would have been him just pulling the plug on his 1 and 2 to get to his 3 starter in Cam Schlittler. I couldn't see that happening. I thought that was too much of a risk. And ultimately, I didn't think it was the play that was realistic to happen. But we get into a World Series situation, game 6 or a game 7 must-win game. I think Boone has the balls to say, get me my best arm, whoever that is, and that guy is hitting the mound. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that day because we're going to know when we walk into August and September what version of Garrett Cole we have, what Cam Schlittler looks like in year 2. Did Major League Baseball rebound to this sinker, to this cutter? Did he have to work in that slider, that wrinkle by the All-Star break, or did he not? Is that fastball too much for the American League and he can actually build off of that? We're going to know exactly what we've got in this staff. Is Rodon actually built up as a starter to pitch and be trusted in October? Which players are down with injuries? It's realistic for one of them to be down. We're going to know exactly what those answers to those questions are. And I'm excited to watch it because I think the most that we want to see Cam healthy. We want to see the staff ready to go. They've got to pitch innings. They've got to get ready to go, and they're off to an amazing, historic start, according to Katie Sharp.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, and I've maintained this. I'm a show me, don't tell me with Garrett Cole. I'm not assuming anything. If I were to start seeing Garrett Cole look like Garrett Cole, right? And you already have Fried, and you already have Schlittler, and Warren looks good, and Weathers continues to build upon, his first start. I mean, I'm going to start to feel like this team absolutely should win the AL East, or not AL East, AL, and should be in the World Series. I think that's really the big thing for me, because that's the first time this year where you can actually say, this is a different team. Say what you will about Ryan Weathers, fine, whatever. Garrett Cole being Garrett Cole is like getting an absolute superstar that you just, and I hate to go from their, their ideology, but it literally is like acquiring the superstar at the deadline. You didn't have him last year.
Yeah, if Garrett Cole's Garrett Cole, I feel like the Yankees will make it to a championship series. Like you said, October's absolutely unpredictable. It's not a crapshoot. Guys you have to be hot. You have to be one of those guys they come ready to play, and it's unpredictable. You need to be there and be ready to play. We have no idea if Trent Grisham's going to build off of what he did last year. He's off to a pretty decent start, and some people say he's going to fall back down. We said that last year, and honestly, gave us a great season, right? Defense be damned. But yeah, if the Yankees get what they expect to get offensively, and this staff does what they have the potential absolutely to do, I see them in the championship series. Where I should say concerned is what this offense does in some of these big games against some of the game's best pitching. Not easy to score in the style that we score against the game's best pitching. The power game,
so
but
true.
The good news is that the Yankees are showing that they can score, at least in March, which for whatever that's worth, they can score against Seattle's staff in Logan Gilbert. We're going to see what it looks like against George Kirby tomorrow in the afternoon or early afternoon. We're going to see what that looks like. Is it similar style? Is Aaron Judge, does he come out with a bang? Does it look like typical Yankees, or are we going to grind out 4 or 5 runs again tomorrow? I'm looking forward to see what this offense looks like long term, because if we can trust this offense, we're not going to have a problem, I don't believe, with our rotation, because we finally have options actually outside of Fried, outside of Rodon, where somebody else can come in and step up in these series.
I agree completely. I think the biggest thing is everyone gets so caught up in the overall number of how many runs, how many home runs and all of that. But I mean, think about how many runs they scored in games that they already won, and then they just kept piling on the runs. Like I'll sacrifice those 20-run games so I can win more of these games.
I know your dad would.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know what your dad thinks. He shouldn't probably show up and make an assessment of this team until probably early May, I would say. And just to see sort of where players are, where Ryan McMahon is, and
he's
where
like you and I. He's not going to make a quick, knee-jerk reaction or anything like that. He didn't like the Weathers trade like I didn't. He doesn't like trading prospects like that. Didn't really like the Grichuk move because he didn't understand why they wouldn't just give Spencer Jones an opportunity. What else? I'm trying to think. I mean, it's kind of hard. I'm sure he's not thrilled that Jake Bird is in this bullpen, but
Spencer Jones, by the way, would be on this roster if Trent Grisham wasn't given that contract that they didn't expect him to accept. They like Trent Grisham. They didn't expect him to take the deal. So once he took the deal, it basically took the job right out of Spencer Jones' hands. That's what happened.
And they're saying that he's overqualified. It's like a guy getting his PhD and working at GameStop. Nothing against working at GameStop, but you got your PhD. You're a little bit overqualified for that.
Oh, hey, we also have a super chat about a prospect. Jake, why don't you go ahead and take this?
Oh, nice.
I know you love your prospects.
I do.
Elmer.
Donald. Oh my God. I said Dalton. That's what happens when
Andy
it's
Dalton. Welcome in.
2:14 a.m.
Donald, thank you, man.
Yeah, no, Donald, we appreciate you. Thank you for the broccoli. 327-26. Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders placed Elmer Rodriguez. No longer Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. I'm still going to call him ERC. On the temporarily inactive list. Any news on this? I did not see anything on this. My guess is that when this stuff happens, it's something that has to do with bereavement or like paternity, whatever it is, right? Like they have these lists. I don't think he's suspended. I didn't see anything on that. It doesn't mean he's getting called up. I've never seen anybody get placed on a temporary list to get called up. They would just call them up. So I don't think anything like that is brewing, if that's what you were wondering there.
I'm trying to take a look if there's anything, and I don't see anything. So right now it's just, it's honestly just purely speculation. We don't have any news to report. When we do, I would love, Donald, if you would really remind us of this like as in the coming days, because we're going to get our answer. This is one of the Yankees guys that they're really hopeful for. And whether he's going to end up staying in this organization, because if you look at our roster construction at the big league level, not a ton of room for these guys, right? And Donald mentioned there's nothing on the SWB website. Yeah, I don't see anything right now. I don't see anything on Twitter. No news to report from that front. But yeah, it's
no news, but it's basically what I said. It's anytime this is used, it's typically used for players that have to leave the team for a short period due to personal matters, family emergencies, or bereavement. Unlike restricted list, it does not usually imply disciplinary action or visa issues. Yep. And
could
also
be childbirth, could be someone in the hospital, someone's passed away. It could be any one of those. And honestly, a lot of these, I mean, to your point, Jake, a lot of them are private matters, and they let us know these situations at their own time. So yeah, we're going to find out one way or the other. The good news is it doesn't seem anything bad with him. Yeah,
it happened with Grisham last year.
That's right.
So
wait, was it Grisham?
I think it was Grisham. He had to leave or something.
I don't remember it being Grisham. I know it was somebody on our roster.
Yuri De Los Santos, I think, also had that happen.
Okay.
By the way, he looked really good in the WBC.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
not surprising at all.
They have an embarrassment of riches at pitcher. That's one thing. Post, Rodon, Garrett Cole, the Yankees are set. They're set because they're also going to be in the market to sign guys as well.
Oh, I have to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying they're set, like as in we have the next group.
Yeah.
I actually disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I believe the staff is going to be awesome. Like, say 5 years from now, I think our staff's going to be great. Like Cam Schlittler will be part of it, and right, like we're going to be absolutely fine. To the point that you brought up, we're going to sign guys, but when you have a loaded staff where you have, like, say, Max Fried, you've got Garrett Cole, and Garrett Cole's on the other side of 35. Right? You got Cam Schlittler, right? We've got a couple guys like LeGrand. We've got guys we trust at this point in our rotation, and there's not really any room for any of them to show up. The timing of when you want to be ready to get to the big leagues probably isn't the time where you can diagnose that a team has a great staff. Because I just feel like the timing of it is that these players, like, for example, LeGrand, they're not going to be pitching in the minor leagues in 4 years. They have to be up at the big league roster probably in the next 2 years.
That's
really
where the
fast.
bullpen comes into. So it's like an old school approach. They used to do this.
Absolutely could. It could be that.
Yeah.
But so far, the way the Yankees tend to do this, they haven't really shown a ton of willingness to use guys out of their system in their bullpen, which is interesting. So maybe that'll change.
I also think this is what I'll compare it to, because it's funny. I was just, before we went live, and actually before I watched the show, or the game, I was watching Toledo tape because they have one of the top safeties in the draft, and I bring him up because you're an Eagles fan. Quinion Mitchell came from Toledo.
Yes, he did.
So connect the dots here. Top corner, Toledo, right? No one talks about Toledo. Top corner in the draft. He's already maybe the best corner in football. Now you have this safety, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who's like the top safety in this draft. There's something they're doing right in that secondary to get these guys drafted. They're now on the map. They're going to be both first-round picks. The reason I bring this up is I don't think, relating it to the Yankees, I don't think it's just a luck of the draw here with these guys all of a sudden starting to emerge for the Yankees in their farm system. I think there were some, and I've talked about this, it's been said before, they went through some massive changes and overhauls in that minor league system, their approach, the archetypes of drafting. I really think that they have a gold mine, and they're going to continue to churn out starters. I'm not saying they'll all be Cam Schlittler, but that's my thing. Like ERC is a completely different animal because they acquired him from the Red Sox, so he was already like developing I mean,
Gleyber
he hit
Torres-esque. We got him from the Cubs. We didn't develop him.
Yeah, like you know what he was, but like LaGrange entirely on you, Brendan Beck, Ben Hess, like these are guys that you're developing. Well, you know, Will Warren, Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel, Cam Schlitt. Gary, that's a lot of pitchers that they're just developing overnight, it feels like. And it's not overnight. It's a process.
And at least we're dancing in the position player realm as well with Ben Rice. Like we're starting. We can no longer say we've developed Aaron Judge. He debuted on this team in 2017.
I know.
So guys, it's time to figure it out as far as
that's what it's all about, though.
Guys. So we'll see if they do.
That's what it's all about, though. And I think that's the big thing. That's why I relate it to Toledo, because it's like, who the hell is talking about Toledo football? And now all of a sudden they have like 2 top tier secondary pieces coming out of the draft in the first round. They're going to be on TV. They're going to walk the stage, all that. It's like, it's the same thing with the Yankees. It's like, it's not one dude gets out of that small school and becomes a star, like Damian Lillard, Weber State. Nobody else came from Weber State. You know what I mean? Like that was just Damian Lillard. Like that was an isolated incident where that was him.
I don't even know if I've ever seen another player wear a Weber State jersey.
I don't remember the last time I've seen them play basketball. But that's my point, Gary, is that like for every like one of those Ben Rices or you know, Austin Wells, there's other guys that are following. Like this is a sign that they're really starting to develop that farm system. And again, it really comes back to the whole idea of the first step to solving any problem is realizing you have one. And the Yankees have had a farm system problem for quite a while now. The archetypes of the guys that they were drafting. Yes. The archetypes of the guys that they were drafting, how long they were taking to call up guys. Like, I'm not talking about to the big leagues. I'm saying, like, there would be like, oh, yeah, this guy. How many times do we go through this and be like, yeah, this guy's in single A? He's their top
just ripping
prospect.
It up, and they're like, well, he's log jammed over in single A, and the guy in double A stinks.
I know.
But at the same time, they don't really trust the guy to pitch at the big league level, but he's just beating up on minor league guys. It's like, okay, you may like the numbers that he's putting up, but if he can't come up to your big league team and produce, he's worthless. Exactly. And by the way, the only reason, and this is the only reason I care about our prospects, literally, because I think we have enough talent as it is, is when a player like a Paul Skeens or any player, a Scooble, they become available. I've got to, as a Yankees fan, because we're the Yankees, right? Let's be real. We need to have the ammo to pull the trigger on some of these trades because we've got the money, literally, to actually bring these players back and retain them, right? You make the trade for Juan Soto. Juan Soto decided that the Yankees' $775 million offer wasn't enough. I can live with that because at the very least, we had the balls to make the trade and we had the balls to give him almost $800 million, and he said no. Same could be said about Scooble, right? Paul Skeens. If we have the ammo, because we have a surplus of talent, we have nowhere to put these starters. And Pittsburgh, a year and a half from now, says, we don't think we're going to win with Connor Griffin in this group. Connor Griffin he's fine. He's the future. He's got a shoe deal. He's cool. But Paul Skeens is kind of running his course. He's starting to get expensive. We're going to have to give him big time money here very soon. We're going to trade him. The Yankees better have a surplus of talent at that exact moment when that comes to be able to make that trade. It's the only way, guys. You can't make people trade these stars to your team. You have to develop talent to give those teams that talent in exchange for proven stars. And I hope the Yankees get to that point at some point because I think they will. I'm very happy. I see names, Brendan Beck. You see all these guys nowhere on a roster to use them outside of our bullpen. And that bodes well for a mega trade down the road. And it's still up to Brian Cashman to pull the trigger and not just talk about the plethora of talent you've got. You have to still exchange that talent for wins. And I think they're currently in the process of trying to overhaul it, to your point, Jake. But Jake, by the way, I don't know how we managed to go an hour and 50 out of what happened today.
I did it again. I did it again.
Oops, Jake has done it again. And anywho, What did you want him to put in the comment section? I thought people did a great job, by the way. There were a lot of listeners.
This was so consistent. We had over 300 people for almost the entire show, it felt like.
Yeah, we really appreciate our YouTube audience. We don't air anywhere else. Guys, thank you for all of our live chats. You guys have been excellent. Of course, our supers and helping support our channel. If you're not subscribed already, please be sure to smash the subscribe button. Well, I'm sounding like a YouTuber already. Smash the subscribe button. I sound like Mr. Beast. And liking the video helps, I don't know if you want to call it the algorithm. It helps people new people find our channel and helps our channel's growth. Probably shouldn't matter as much as it does, but unfortunately, that's the way the game's played. But yeah, thank you guys for everything. Jake,
what do they put in the comment section?
What do you want them to put in the comment section? Because it can't be anything Max Fried related. I think we've got everything.
We've run that into the ground.
We've run him into the ground.
I
think LaGrange is going to get pulled up as a reliever, actually.
Oh, guys saying no voicemail. Yeah, so tomorrow we will do voicemails. We decided to overhaul our show a little bit, and we're going to be doing voicemails for the last game of every series. So after that game, that episode, we'll do the voicemails. So hopefully that clears that up.
Yep. So, Guy, we will see you tomorrow with the voicemail. We are looking forward to it. Don't forget, tomorrow is a day game.
Hey, how about
we
this?
We should see Austin Wells, the whole crew. Well,
Jazz Chisholm got one more stolen base closer to his 50-50 season. The only problem is he hasn't hit a home run yet. So he's got 157 games left to have 48 more stolen bases and 50 more home runs.
The summer months are ahead.
So let's do...
Yankee Stadium. Oh, is this something Jazz related? Is that what you're going with?
Let's do Jazz. No, we did Jazz Ticker, I thought.
Yeah. How about this? Name the prospect that you guys believe, not the prospect you think should be called up first, the prospect you believe, whether it's injury or not, that will get called up first out of our system this year and make an impact, or just being called up altogether. I would love to hear some of these answers. Is it going to be LaGrange the way I think it's going to be in our bullpen, giving Doval a partner really to volley with, to pass it to Bednar, and give us a dynamic, high-velocity arm that I believe we need in that pen long-term? Or is it going to be Spencer Jones due to an injury to either a Trent Grisham, a Cody Bellinger dealing with a back, maybe these first couple months? Drop in the comment section, not the live chat, but the comments after you refresh when we're gone, of who you think will be called up. Jake, who's your prediction?
This is so tough. We're not counting Jason Dominguez, right? I feel like that's kind of low hanging fruit.
I wouldn't count Jason Dominguez. No.
Okay. I kind of feel like it's Brandon Beck.
Okay. I'm going to go.
Here's why, by the way. He's the safest option. If he doesn't do well, I don't think he has a ton of value where the Yankees aren't like worried, like, oh no, what did we just do? Whereas if they call up like, LaGrange and he wets the sheets, I mean, it's obviously he can withstand that because the upside is so immense.
Yes.
But it's like, I don't know. I'll throw another analogy at you.
It was kind of like when we called up Will Warren. Will Warren had the potential to do kind of what he's doing.
Well, but I mean, really,
if we lost value on Will Warren, I don't think anyone was losing sleep.
Exactly. But like LaGrange is like opening up that 10-year like box of like baseball cards. You got 10 years ago. It's been sealed, and as soon as you open it up, like the value just plummets. Like it's honestly useless at that point. Like it's based on whatever cards you pull. That's the only value that's there.
That actually reminds me of this. My mom actually, when she started working at her airline, they gave her Coke bottles, these glass Coke bottles, for essentially to congratulate her for making it right in the company. Yeah. And one day I went in the garage and I put one in the refrigerator and I cracked one open, and it hit my lips and it was like sand. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with this Coke? I thought this was like Mexican Coke bottles. Like it was going to be cane sugar and everything. And my mom goes, where'd you get that from? And I said, well, the garage. I drink like 25-year-old Coca-Cola.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I guess not to steal your point here. Going to LaGrange really opens up the bag. It's like, oh, well, if he gets shelled in the major league level, it's like, well, everything that happened in the spring is kind of for naught, right? And everything that's kind of all this that's been built up, this may be Steven Strasburg. All of that, maybe it doesn't go away because the stuff's always there. The 102 is still there. But to your point, you go Brendan Beck, if he struggles a little bit or if he gives us a good start and a bad start, no one's like, oh, well, now the cat's out the bag with Brendan Beck. It's like, not really.
That's the Ivan Nova call up, man. It can't kill you.
I hate how right you might be with this. I hate it.
I like him, but I'm just saying, like, and honestly, I'm only right because I'm listening to you, because you always bring this up. This is why they're not rushing to call up Spencer Jones so he could. How does that look to the rest of the league? Like, yeah, we love him so much he can't play over.
Their decision with Spencer Jones is we're not going to play him until Trent Grisham leaves this roster altogether and we have no choice.
Yeah.
Or there's an injury, or we trade him at the deadline because we have other guys that can play in his spot, and then somehow, some way, a Paul Skeens or whoever else is available, so we traded him. That's what we do with our top prospects. So it's wonky, man.
It's like driving the car off the lot. As soon as you drive it off the lot, goes down in value. The draft picks. Everyone loves draft picks, but once you make the pick, even if you pick the guy that team was going to pick, it's not worth as much.
So you're saying that Brian Cashman is at the used car lot. It's probably never bought a new car in his life. That's what you're telling me, right?
Sadly.
Technically the right play. You should never buy a new car.
So I will say the Brandon Beck move, if they had to call up somebody, makes a lot of sense. It does. If they had to call up a starting pitcher, it does, just because if they do that, they're protecting LaGrange.
Because if LaGrange balls out and then that player who was out due to injury returns,
what do you do now?
That player is going to, now all of a sudden, what do you do? The only option is that LaGrange would go now back down to the minor leagues and you have this super trade bait. It's like, it's not what you want.
No, as Joe Girardi would say, it's not what you want. But
no,
the way I see it is that the Yankees have a choice to make. Like, I have said it on this show already. I'm going to say it again. Cam Schlittler is off limits in any trade. I don't believe he would be included in a trade for Paul Skeens. However, LaGrange has not hit that point yet for the Yankees. So at this point, they kind of have to play both sides. Yes, we love him to compete. We believe that he can compete. But at the same time, if this trade is still a possibility, it's going to have to start with LaGrange, and they know that. You're not going to be able to have LaGrange, Schlittler, and Skeens. The Pirates are going to at least want LaGrange.
LaGrange almost can't be called up. Because of that.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, when that report came out, and albeit, I mean, always check your source, but, you know, it came out, right? And apparently they were trying to make the trade last deadline. Well, Gary, if they were trying to make it last deadline, why would they not try to make it this deadline? When, to your point, they are probably more than ever in the driver's seat to pull off a trade like that.
We've never been in a better position to make a blockbuster like this. Never. And of course, somebody who's not a Yankees fan that's listening to this or that's saying, hey, well, we're 4-1. Why are we sitting there talking about a Paul Skeens trade? We're just trying to figure out what this team does with the surplus of pitching talent that they have. You can't just sit on young players and have LaGrange sitting in your system for 3 years. It doesn't work that way. There's Rule 5, right? And we've lost Garrett Whitlock to the Boston Red Sox through Rule 5. You don't just get to keep all your chips. This isn't real life, right? Like this is not like the casino where you just get to walk out with all your chips and show back up the next week. No, you're forced to do something with the talent that you have in your system and at the major league level. And the Yankees have to find a way to win and increase their ceiling, if you will. And some of these trades that might be out there with some of these young talent, might help the Yankees actually become a winner. So yeah, it's definitely difficult to figure out what to do with this talent, but you're absolutely right. It probably is Brennan Beck, and we both love what he can do, but it's obviously not the sexy answer. Everyone wants to see the best pitcher in our system in LeGrand, and you might not get it. So yeah, drop in the comment section the player that you guys believe outside, as Jake mentioned, outside of Jason Dominguez. He is not a prospect.
And Luis Silva.
Drop a prospect. Yes. Drop the prospect you guys believe will be the first called up to the 2026 Major League New York Yankees. Drop that in the comment section. And before you guys go, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified every single time we go live. And we also have a major announcement to make tomorrow. We will make that. Jake, did you want to make it anyway, or what were you pointing about?
No, I was just...
Oh, Jake was doing the typical broadcaster stuff where he has to hit the button and it takes the thing 2 or 3 seconds to get us off here. So we have to sit here and go, back to you, Jan. Yeah. Subscribe, like the video.